You might not have realized it, but I've literally been working on the car for 3 weeks, working on this video, doing nothing else. I eat 5:05, I drink 5:05, I sleep 5:05. And I really wanted to start the car for this video, to finish with something really cool. I'm starting to realize I may not be able to do it. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of work to do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I read the comments. I saw all your messages. Yes, I get it, you missed the 505, but you know what? I miss that little car a lot too. And if you don't know about the project, I'm standing next to a 1986 Peugeot 505, which I'm swapping to a Mercedes-AMG 606 engine with a 3-liter displacement. Basically, it's the one they call the 2JZ diesel. So yes, this is a project that's really close to my heart, and actually at the end of the last episode it started up. Well, it didn't really start up. It was a little trick thanks to the magic of editing, simply because I had been filming this video non-stop for 3 weeks to bring you something amazing. And by the way, you liked it, right? Because the video totally broke the records in terms of views. That made me really happy. But yeah, I preferred not to try starting it, because I still had quite a few little details to sort out before I could start it up with peace of mind, without risking blowing the engine or breaking something else on the car. So we're going to take care of that right now. In the last episode, we put the engine in the car more or less for good. So if you're not familiar with the project yet, we have a complete front end from Nissan. A 13200 SX with custom engine mounts with a little S369. And of course, a conversion to a mechanical pump, an RS203 with modified internals, which should allow us to get more than enough power. In the back, we have a BMW E46330D 5-speed gearbox, a Mercedes drive shaft, and a Mercedes rear differential. Here's a quick project overview. If you're interested, I encourage you to watch the full playlist, as this is the wildest project I've done, and if you don't know me, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy who does this quietly in my little workshop, which sure is starting to be well equipped and really nice, and that also makes me very happy, but still, I don't really have a handle on this kind of thing. So, originally this engine has a mechanical pump, but it's electronically controlled. That's the pump over there on the table here. Well, it's pretty simple, but normally you've got a wiring harness coming out of the thing, and I wasn't interested in that since this pump is controlled by an ECU. And for the sake of matching the year of the car, I wanted a pump that's 100% mechanical, exactly like the ones you could originally find on the 4-cylinder Peugeot 505 diesels. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to use this pump, and because you don't need any computer at all to run the car. That's a little detail that seems to really confuse a lot of you. How is that possible? I still get a lot of messages about it. I didn't get it. Are you going to put a programmable ECU on the 505? No, there just won't be any management system. The diesel flow will be adjusted roughly with the settings on the side of the pump, and the turbo flow will be adjusted with a boost controller that's inside the cabin. My management will just use a size 6 wrench and my boost controller. That's all. The problem is that these pumps are so powerful once they're tuned that there's a risk of shifting the crankshaft pulley directly on the crankshaft. It might sound a bit strange, but I've been told and retold, I've even been told several times that I'll need to secure it. We're not just talking about running with 3 or 4 bars of turbo pressure. You need to do it even before starting the engine. Some say it's unnecessary. I don't know who to trust, guys. We're going to do it right now before starting the engine because, well, honestly, an OM 606 is starting to get a bit expensive and I don't want to break it right away. So let's dive straight into the hard stuff. I know we all love this beautiful front end of the Peugeot 505, but it has to go. Now we're going to remove the bumper and the grille.
It's only the beginning of the episode, and already the voiceover is here to give you a warning. This start of the video is particularly filled with random mechanical explanations from Anthony, so hang on and listen carefully, because even he doesn't know what he's saying.
And once the front panel is removed, you realize that the engine is really gigantic. Yeah, you see, this is no joke, huh? So today, priority number 1 is going to be trying to remove the damper pulley bolt. Once that's done, I'll explain a bit about the how and why, and especially why I want to take care of this thing right away. And right now, honestly, we're not going to overthink it. I'm taking the big Milwaukee impact wrench with the largest battery and we're going for it. Okay, not so complicated after all. Actually, I saw a video from Diesel Pump UK where he explained that the crankshaft pulley and the crankshaft are just clipped into each other. And there's a tiny key. And sometimes with jolts like that in the crankshaft, this key can break or come loose or, well, I don't really know. Anyway, it's not enough. So basically what everyone does is, at that point between the crankshaft and the crankshaft pulley, people usually drill to about 1 centimeter deep and they force in a pin. A pin is basically a key, really.
What?
They force that thing in between the two with a hammer. It's called piercing between flesh and between bone and flesh.
But nobody says that.
You drill right between the two, push it in, and it's perfect. It never moves again. Personally, I'd like it to be able to move if I really want it to, so I'm going to drill with a 5, tap with a 6, and put in a set screw in 14/9, so the strongest ones you can find, which basically act as a key, you know, and screw it in here. The thing is, just grabbing your drill and drilling right there like that, your crankshaft, your €1,500 engine, it kind of bothers me. And you should know that there are some kits offered for sale by certain tuners like DP UK, Benz Force, Benz Injection, I don't remember. Anyway, there are tons of them, so yeah, I get my parts from them. They sell this for a lot, and most importantly, they're all outside the European Union. So, on top of paying $100 for your kit, which is really well made since they send you the drill bit, the pin, the guide tool to drill straight, it's perfect, but you pay $30 for shipping, $30 for customs, and honestly that annoys me a bit. So, what we're going to do is go on SolidWorks and we're going to design our own tool that will allow us to center our drill bit for drilling. If you haven't seen it, here's what it looks like on the Diesel Pump UK website. I'm also giving a shout out to these great guys who make cool products for about $100. And the problem is, since he's in England, well, if I want to order it, I'm not going to pay $100, I'll probably pay maybe $160 or $170. And basically you screw this tool into the crankshaft, those 2 little holes there are at the right distance to let you drill, and then you put your pin in. Except I just don't want to buy it from them, not because I dislike them, but because I don't want to pay $60 each for VAT, customs and shipping. So I'm going to make it myself, I'll have Ulyss machine it, and you know what, I'll put it up for sale on my website perriercitron.fr. The goal isn't just to make money, it's to provide a part available in France, delivered to your home quickly within a week without costing $200. Let's go, we're designing this tool. And here, man, this is cool. Look. So I went and took all my measurements. It turns out this isn't a regular M18 because normally M18 has a 2.5 pitch, but here we have a 1.5 pitch. That means between each thread there's only 1.5 millimeters, so it's a special fine pitch screw that costs a lot. So, well, if I ever offer a kit, you'll be able to choose whether or not to include the screw because the screw is expensive and there's nothing I can do about that. Oh yeah, so I'm starting a little 3D print. I have my little Bamboo Lab P1S combo right here. I'll show it to you in a bit. And so I just drew this on SolidWorks and I'm really happy with it. We have a threaded part that's 30mm, 10mm here of solid section with holes that are 2.5mm in diameter, and on top there's a 13mm hexagon so you can use a ratchet, a wrench or whatever you want. So I'm really happy with it. This part is only used to guide the drill bit so it doesn't slip, to make sure you drill straight. That's it. It's not mandatory mandatory, you can do it freestyle, but since this is an engine that's starting to get expensive, I still recommend using this kind of tool. Let's be honest. Aren't we basically starting a company here? No. We're just copying the thing that's way too expensive on the other side of the world, but that's not the point. That's printing. I'll get back to you when it's done.
Ah, the sound. Sound and Anthony. That's a whole adventure. You could make a series out of it. Recently, he bought a brand new microphone because he was fed up with sound problems. Of course, he didn't stop to think before doing this. But believe it or not, even with this fancy microphone,
induction technology,
he still manages to miss the fact that the battery is dead. So once again, it's the Sony Case's microphone that's recording the sound with maximum echo.
Well, in the end, this whole crank pin kit story that the machinist has to make for me is taking longer than I thought. So while the machinist is working on it, and especially since, well, he has real work, you know, real projects and real clients on the side, he'll do it for me when he has a few minutes. Meanwhile, I'll continue with the rest since there's plenty to do while waiting to start the car. I know you're getting impatient. Don't worry, I'm probably even more impatient than you are, but for now, we're going to focus on some other really interesting and cool things like the pedals and the steering column. Yeah. Actually, it's kind of interesting. Let me explain. Basically, it's great. We know the car is going to start very soon, very quickly. The engine starts, and that's really cool. So, as a result, we're going to anticipate, since the engine starts, we're going to make sure the car can accelerate, brake, and disengage the clutch. And those are three very interesting points, and we're also going to make sure that our steering column isn't completely ridiculous anymore. Because right now, it's just a totally temporary thing, and as you can see, it doesn't make any sense at all. Up here, we have the part that's connected to the steering wheel. We have a universal joint. That universal joint is connected to another universal joint, and that universal joint is connected to this universal joint here. So when you turn the steering wheel, it gives us something really quirky. So I think we're definitely going to start with that. It's going to be simple. We'll have to completely cut through our firewall here to allow for a single metal bar that goes from this joint here all the way to that joint there. We're going to completely remove this one, and we'll have a straight tube coming all the way here. Please, I don't want any references to Ayrton Senna. It's not funny. Not for him, not for me. This isn't a single-seater, so it's unlikely anything will go wrong. People mentioned it on the Jaguar video. I didn't know the story, I admit, and I'm sorry about that. Honestly, this part here, which is an adaptable piece from another Nissan, I don't really like it because I had to force it in here. It didn't fit well at all into the splines. So, normally in this box, I have what I need to improve this. A real steering rack output shaft from a Nissan S13 which was provided to me by a subscriber. A huge thank you for your help, because I have to admit a simple part like this isn't super easy to find. So, the idea is that this will go onto the steering rack instead of that thing from the Nissan Pixel or whatever it is. It'll already be nicer. And I think that at the end, well, we'll just cut here and then use a piece of metal to connect all the way up there. I think that's how it's going to be. This part isn't going to be the most interesting, so I suggest we meet up again once everything is cut and, I don't know, hey, transition.
Only Anthony could make a video production this catastrophically. The guy sets up an incredible finger snap transition and then follows it up with time lapses. What is all this?
So, some time has passed and now I have a steering column in one piece. As they say, it'll do for whoever knows how. Now, I'm going to try to install it on the car, and that's not a sure thing because I did take some measurements, sure. Are they the right measurements? I don't know. It's really not certain that it'll fit on the first try. Why doesn't it fit in my Peugeot column? It's the original part. There. Oh damn, yes. Pull it a bit. Good thing I left some margin. Let's straighten the steering wheel. The steering wheel is straight now, but I think everything fell out. Now I can fit this onto my rack. Normally, I haven't added any screws yet, but we should have steering without any clacking noises. Oh yeah, damn, that's nice. There's a bit of play, which is normal. Tightening the screws usually solves the problem.
The voiceover has rarely had so much work in such a short time, and yet, it's very real. This entire sequence dedicated to the handmade and random creation of an oil bypass fell victim to a lack of sound. As an apology, I'll let you enjoy the silence generated by Anthony's explanations when the microphone doesn't work. Nice, isn't it? It's good to hear him shut his mouth. Anyway, he had removed a part from the oil circuit and had to make a bypass using AN fittings and dodgy hoses. We resume once it drains to the minimum.
Mom, an hour and a half. Anthony, it's too slow. Yes, but that's exactly it. I know it's a problem. For example, the problem here is that I just made this. Wow, you might say, actually your bypass is really clean. The problem is that from here, it's much less so. It's completely bent. And actually, since this is still an oil inlet and outlet under pressure right here, in my opinion, we're not far from the oil pump's output pressure since we're right next to the oil filter. These fittings are supposed to completely cool the engine oil. Well, if it's pinched and the oil doesn't flow, the engine is done for. So, I'm not gonna lie, I really don't like this setup. From here it looks okay. Well, with this camera it's too big, I can't show you, but back there it's really bent. To get to this point, I heated it with a heat gun, clamped it, reheated it with the heat gun, clamped it again, heated it again, and now this is pretty much the result we get. Basically, that's how you waste an hour and a half on a crappy thing, so the solution could be to use a really long hose so there aren't any bends. The problem is, the only hose I have that's the right, well, a decent length and especially the right diameter is this one. And the problem with this is that it's really crappy.
Don't start grabbing me by the scruff of the neck.
I barely put any force on it, it's really crap. It's super soft, I don't really know if it can handle oil, temperatures and so on. In theory, the oil won't have time to heat up. So, I'll probably use this long piece and make a nice loop so it doesn't get pinched and restrict our oil flow. Poof! It's just little annoying details like this, it's getting on my nerves. You don't think about it, but poof, it's terrible. It might not even be leak-proof. It's terrible. Honestly, I really love the vibe of this garage at night. A little bit of light, just enough. It's really nice for working. Honestly, it's a childhood dream. Anyway, I changed the oil hose again, so I put the long one. It looks a bit ugly, but maybe it's less dangerous than a pinched hose. It's really ugly. This one has farther to go, but at least it'll make it through. I just hope the AN fittings here will be leak-proof, either at the filter or at the seal inside the oil filter mount. That's done now. We'll have to focus on the wiring next. So, the glow plug harness and the starter harness. The rest isn't really necessary. And for those who didn't get it, that's all you need to start this engine. Absolutely everything. The priming pump on these engines is just the lift pump. It's this little thing here that's mechanically operated which sucks fuel all the way from the tank. So, maybe for the video, I'll put back the original Peugeot tank and put some diesel in it. I'll clean it, I'll put hoses that go all the way to the front, supply and return, and that's it. Basically, there's nothing else. Just 12 volts to the starter and some preheating. I checked my stuff at the back of the workshop. And the advantage of having tinkered with 206s for years and having taken apart quite a few of them is that you end up with pieces of wiring harness. And that's excellent news because now we already have an extra wiring harness that's all ready. Basically, we already have a connector like this one here to go onto the positive terminal of the battery. We also have a permanent power supply here that can go into a fuse box that we'll put right next to the battery. And I also found a primary ground harness that belonged to a 206 2-liter HDI, which gives us this terminal here, which is important and will go onto the battery. And then a chassis ground, a gearbox ground. That already gives me a really good starting point to work from. We're back after a few days. I've made progress on the 3008's clutch. The 3008 is still here and my wife is currently driving it. Nobody cares, but it's just to let you know that I'm not doing nothing. I'm doing something else. However, in the meantime, I have actually made good progress on developing an engine wiring harness. I have a positive and a negative from the battery. The negative is connected. I don't know if you can see it here on the chassis. And on the gearbox, I tested the grounds with the multimeter when I touched the turbo. And I was mistaken, a bolt from the rear seatbelt works, it's grounded. So we have a ground on the vehicle and that's very good. And for the positive, it's very simple, a harness from a 206. The battery connector here goes directly to the starter. That's all, since that's all we need today. I say today because yes, absolutely, I'm going to start the car today, within a few hours at most. I feel like unconsciously, I'm pushing back the deadline like, oh no, shoot, I'm missing this part to start. Ah shoot, no, honestly man, you just put a plus, a minus, a bit of diesel in the pipe and it starts. Period. Stop stressing. Anthony, it'll work. The engine is original and untouched, so nothing should go wrong. I also made some wiring for the preheating, but there's no point showing you. Basically, I kept the original preheating wiring from the Mercedes that connects to the 6 glow plugs, and I'm just going to take it and put it on the battery for a few seconds just to heat up the plugs so the engine can run on 6 cylinders right away. In the meantime, I've been working hard. Look, basically, I don't know if you remember, but a few days ago, you know, we were missing that kind of crank pin kit, the thing to lock the crankshaft pulley in place. So I made some 3D printed models and so on to get the right measurements, to have the right design, and then I sent all that to Ulyss Uzimeca26, who made this for me. This, guys, is the real part that's going to be screwed onto the crankshaft to add a key. There you go, crankshaft, and you can see right here we have our original key. I put a yellow mark on it so we remember where it is, and then you take this tool, which is only used to guide your drill bit, and then you screw it onto your crankshaft. There you go. I'm doing a little tutorial at the same time, you know what? So in the kit, I provide you with a small 5mm drill bit because you never know. Borrow a drill, okay? Don't do it with your fingers. You put your drill bit in your drill and then you'll see on the bit I provide, I'll make a little mark for you that will serve as a drilling depth guide. Basically, you shouldn't go any deeper because the little pin I'm going to give you is 10mm, so you shouldn't drill more than 10mm. Careful disclaimer. I'm not making these kits to make money, really. I'm going to sell them cheaper than anyone else. And above all, it's to help people because you can't find these things in Europe, and that's why I made my own kit. And yes, cutting oil, you can use penetrating oil, that works too, and then you drill up to the little mark. Okay, we should be just about there.
There's a gust at 132 kilometers per hour.
Okay, so here I'm drilling with a 5 because we're simply going to tap it in M6 by 100, but I think we should actually tap it in M6.1. I'm not sure of the exact rule, but I'll tap it M6 by 100 and that should work fine. Why don't I just use a pin that's exactly 5mm in diameter that we insert? Well, if we ever want to remove the pulley, it'll be much easier to take it off without the pin that's threaded. And on top of that, it helps secure the pulley so it can't vibrate back and forth if it ever comes loose.
After that miserable tool breakage right in the crankshaft of the OM606, Anthony tried to salvage what he could with his welding skills. Weak skills.
Actually, I realized my mistake. We should drill at 5.1. So, I'm going to buy 5.1 drill bits and I'm going to redo my thing so that there are 5.1 holes in it. And we'll try again, and we'll succeed. I'm fed up. That's it, I'm annoyed. I have a solution. But I just literally lost a whole day of work on the 505. The solution is really simple. We're not going to screw anything in at all. It was a good idea, but if I sell you something, I don't want you to break taps in your engine and then send me emails. Anthony, I broke my tap in. I don't want that. So, we're going to make it simpler. I went back to see Ulyss and we just said we're going to drill the crankshaft and the pulley with a 6. And then in the 6 hole, we'll just put a pin. Here, it's just a piece of stainless steel, you see. For me, to make the prototype, that's fine. But we're just gonna go tap, 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 tap. There you go, it's pinned. We'll put a little bit of Loctite. And that'll be just fine. I'm getting a bit tired of this. It wasn't supposed to be this annoying and complicated. But at least I'm making prototypes, so no one can complain it's badly done. Because it was badly done and I could clearly see that it was badly done. I honestly think I should have drilled at 5.1 or 5.2 because the crankshaft and pulley are made of treated steel, making them extremely hard. And I think that's why we broke our dear tap, so let's tighten this. Where's my 6mm hole? Almost in the same place. Ah, it must have caught on the thread next to it. Well, that'll do just fine. The key will be almost right in front of the original one. That'll be perfect, okay? We're going to use a 6mm drill bit. Yes, Anthony, to install a 6mm key, use a 5.9mm drill bit and chamfer it slightly. It should work fine with thread locker, at least I hope so. It's really not my day. Honestly, I feel like an idiot. Well, would you look at that? There are lots of shavings, but it's not progressing. What am I doing? If I break something because of this, it should be fine. When you see it this way, 20mm is a lot. Actually, I compared the kits from competitors. Competitors, well, not really. Guys who sell their crank pin kit and they use 20mm pins. That means there must be 20mm of pulley behind it in theory. Come on, we're almost there. There we go, we've got it, 20mm. So now I'm going to cut a little piece exactly 20mm, I'll bevel it a bit, and it should fit right in. Personally, I prefer to sell an easy kit. Rather than refunding engines worth $2,000, you know? That's not the goal. So now we've got a nice little hole that's been drilled well. It's about 22 deep, something like that. So I made a pin that's 22 deep. So, well, it's going to fit in there, it'll be tight in terms of diameter, and especially it'll be tight at the edge of the pulley here. So, our big washer from the damper pulley bolt will press against it, and it won't be able to come out, move forward, move at all, nothing, and that'll be perfect. The advantage of messing up on the 6 is that on the 605, which is right behind, well, I can do it without messing up, because I'll have the right technique. If I had known, I would have started on the 605. It costs a bit less than a 606. No big deal. I add some thread locker, screw it in, and replace the small washer and bolt from the damper pulley. Yeah, 6 for 6. Maybe for the kits I'm going to sell, we'll drill at 5.9 and put in a 6-pin. At least it goes in tight, you see? You have to tap it in with a small punch and a hammer. I don't know, I'll think about it. I'm not super satisfied. I'm going to try improving this mess on the 605 again, though it probably won't ever move. At least I can make it cleaner. Anyway, I'm pretty fed up with it, so let's move on. Crank pin kit, that's done. To pin the camshaft, we'll do 3 TIG welds one day when Clayton comes over. For now, I think it's not necessary. We'll start the engine at idle and rev it 3 or 4 times. I don't think that'll throw the camshaft out of alignment. I'm saying this, but I can already picture the slow motion voiceover. Anthony had no idea that at that moment, I don't know, I'm fed up. I just want it to start. Now, what do I have left to start the engine? Not much. I'm not going to fill it with coolant since the idea here is simply to... Hello? Hello? How are you? I'm just going to start the engine, that's it, give it 3 revs and turn off the engine. I just want to see a Mercedes engine running in the Peugeot. So, what do I have left to do? Remove the turbo. Why remove the turbo? Because I still haven't received the little fitting that lets me supply oil to the turbo. And if I leave it there, well, obviously with the exhaust gases it's going to spin, and I don't want it to spin without oil for various very logical reasons. So unfortunately I'm going to remove the turbo. Once I've taken off the turbo, all that's left is to... how do you say it? How do you say it? What word am I looking for? Yes, I obviously have an oil feed and a return line to normally supply and recycle the oil that's in the turbo to send it back into the engine block. The problem is, if I don't have a turbo, the feed line has to go directly into the return. Otherwise, I'm going to have technical issues like the engine emptying itself. That's not the goal. So I'll have to connect the two, the inlet and the outlet, together. Normally, it's not super complicated. It should work.
Oh, incredible. I don't have to step in for a technical problem this time, but to spare you from Anthony's intense life stories. The 505 is going to start in a few minutes, and he's reciting a novel about how the turbo works, its weight, its body mass. We don't care. Next.
So for the feed and return, I ordered a kit directly from Benz Injection in the States. So yeah, I paid for shipping, all that stuff, but at least I have the right fittings, I don't have to second guess it. So this is going to go into the block, the oil will come out here, and then I should have this one. And it looks like this one hose will fit both sides. I think so, yeah. So that'll be sorted out pretty quickly. I'm relieved, I'm really happy. I thought I'd need a workaround with flexible hose like on the other side, but I'll handle it. I'll show you when it's done. Then we'll add oil to the engine. Well, you can tell it's not made for this, you know what I mean? Like it's the hose, you see. But the good thing is, it was the right thread on the inlet, the right thread on the outlet, so at least my oil won't go everywhere. Technically, it's good now. Oh, I also wanted to show you something. This is something really cool though, and this is spot on, okay? I'm not going to sell you something that doesn't work. Not that the other thing didn't work, you know? It's just that it wasn't perfect. Now it is. Here you see normally you have a diesel fuel heater here, because you should know that in the previous video when I redid the whole diesel circuit, so hose etc stuff, I removed this diesel heater. I removed the pre-filter for the diesel filter since it's unnecessary and causes leaks due to O-rings here and on the outlet. Anyway, it's gone. Same here, O-rings everywhere, it's gone. It's just a small heat exchanger that goes into the cylinder head. The diesel, when it comes in, before reaching the filter, the pump, I don't remember exactly in what order, passes through here and is supposed to heat the diesel using the heat from the coolant. I didn't want that anymore, so I'm getting rid of it. Except there's a hole, and you can imagine that starting a car with a hole in the cooling system isn't ideal. Well, today we don't care since we're not putting in coolant, but when there is some, it won't be fun. So, with my own 2 hands and my little 3D modeling software, I made this thing exceptional. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So this is made of aluminum, machined from solid, made by my machinist Ulis. I'm really happy to work with him because, let's be honest, he does a really good good job. And behind this thing, we're supposed to put a paper gasket that's no longer available from Mercedes and can't be found on the internet anymore. I made this paper gasket for you. This is just the prototype. I ordered a thicker 0.5mm gasket that can handle up to 400 degrees and hydrocarbons. And, well, I cut it out with my little cutting plotter. So now I have a gasket that's no longer available. I'm very happy. And so, same thing, I'll provide it to you with stainless steel screws and a little washer. I forget the name, but they're small washers that compress to lock screws and prevent loosening, and they're available in stainless steel. Don't over-tighten them. And yes, I say I'll provide it to you because I also sell this kit in the store. This one, there's nothing complicated about it. It's ready, I know it, there's no problem. Why do I offer it? Because it's only available in England or the United States. I haven't seen it elsewhere. You can get it on perriercitron.fr. I'll show you how it looks when installed. Only then do we add oil to the engine. That wasn't necessary right now, but I was very happy to show you. Here it is. I'll show you again. Wow, incredible. Once it's on the engine, it looks like this. Man, it's super classy, super professional, it's awesome. Well, once the intake manifold is installed, it will be almost invisible. But the experts will know there's a PDLV performance part on their engine. And honestly, it's awesome. Damn, it's so cool. Wow, seriously, incredible. Well, I think that's good now. Normally, to turn off the mechanical pump, there's a lever here that's activated by a vacuum actuator that I ordered, which is in a little box over there. Except that, we need a vacuum, we need some little relays, some little gadgets, some little things. I don't feel like dealing with it. I can operate the pump manually to cut off the fuel supply. So that's what I'm going to do today. And basically now I just need to put oil back in. I'm really going to take my time, okay? It's going to take a while, just so you know. Normally there's nothing to worry about now, so those little screws up there, I'm gonna take them out. I don't want them to fall into my intake because of vibrations and break the engine right away. I'm trying to consider everything since we won't have an intake manifold. Why no intake manifold? Simply so I can access the throttle control behind it because it's behind the pump, and if I put the intake manifold on, I won't be able to reach it anymore. I'm thinking. Normally it should start. Wow. Honestly, there's not really a big reason to stress because, well, it's just the original engine with a pump. The only thing I did to the engine was install the pump and set it up on the timing chain. There shouldn't be any problem. The rest is completely original. But just imagining the Mercedes engine starting in the Peugeot, it stresses me out. I'm shaking a bit, you know? Even though there's nothing. I know it, there's nothing. But actually, it's such a big step for me to think that there's a Mercedes engine running in my Peugeot that it really stresses me out. Maybe you noticed. Since the beginning of the video, I've been saying, oh, I can do this before, I can do that before, I can do this before, but now I have to start it. This is the moment. Well, the oil, I can't forget the oil. The oil, yes, the oil. First, how much oil is left in the engine? There can't be much since it was leaking heavily and now isn't leaking at all. Maybe it's missing 2 or 3 liters. Let's add some 15W40. We don't care, it'll be mixed in anyway. I'm just finishing off the useless cans in the back of the garage. Now that I'm sponsored by Motul, Motul is great oil. And I don't want to waste really good oil now. What's this? 1040. Come on. Okay, that's done. Next, what's this? 540 diesel, that'll be fine. Okay, let's empty what's left in there. What's this? 540 for gas engines. Perfect. There you go. At least it helps clear out the shelves a bit. So, in terms of the amount of oil, what does it say? Not bad? Great, I'll get diesel, add a battery and start the engine. Sounds good. Alright. First, before adding diesel or preheating, I'll crank the engine over first. It hasn't run in a long time and I want the oil pump to circulate oil throughout. And that will let us see if there are any oil leaks before even trying to start the engine. Smart. So basically, to explain the setup a bit, the diesel return line, a floating hose that's going to go in there. So basically, all the diesel that isn't used by the engine, which will just circulate through the filter and so on, will go back into the canister. Without a return line, you can empty 10 liters in just a few seconds. It's unbelievable. The supply line is attached to the lift pump with a longer hose reaching the bottom of the canister. That's the basic setup. And for the battery, the negative goes on the battery, on the chassis, on the gearbox and so on to the engine. The positive goes here. So, is it going to blow up? I don't think so. Okay, nothing's happening at all. That's perfect. That's what we wanted. So, the goal here, like I told you, is to run the engine without load. The oil should be all good. To excite the starter, you see the big red cable on the main terminal with the capped nut, and just below is the excitation terminal. Normally with a relay, etc. So, in theory, the key connects the 2 terminals, and then the excitation tells a kind of relay inside the starter. Go ahead, bro, you can let it rip. grip. Except here, well, since I didn't do the wiring, we're going to use this good old screwdriver. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really stressed actually. I'm really stressed. Oh, I crapped myself. Okay, that works. It's turning. No, I know you're thinking behind the screen, what he's doing is crap, but think about it. Just a few years ago, I couldn't even change brake pads.
One oil priming later.
It's time to put in some diesel. So well, I'm going to open my jerry can and just put both hoses in it, quite simply, and then go. I'll need to preheat it a bit. For preheating, I forgot my preheating harness. I just used the original one. At the end, I bundled all the wires and will touch this copper and tin cluster to the battery's positive terminal for about 7 to 10 seconds, since the glow plugs are already grounded. Then I'll try starting it with diesel.
And that's when a way too long scene of over 20 minutes starts, where Anthony preheats. Anthony cranks the starter. Anthony preheats. Anthony cranks the starter. Preheats. Anthony cranks the starter. In short, it just wouldn't start, and nothing happened, as if there was no diesel. After some excessive and pointless insistence on that poor starter, Anthony took a completely undeserved break, and he came back stronger. Well, I think so.
I came back a few hours later. I ate, I took a shower, I feel much more relaxed, I did a bit of investigating. Off camera, I looked into why there was no diesel, or not enough diesel. Well, it's very simple, I thought. I'll add a primer bulb. By adding a primer bulb to my system coming out of the jerry can, things improved. I also realized my hose was going into the jerry can. It reached the jerry can's bottom, but the hose was so long it looped up, causing diesel to flow back inside. When I put on the primer bulb and pressed it, it didn't seem to suck anything. So I cut the hose to reach the bottom of the jerry can and pumped. And actually now when I pump, the diesel comes out through the return line, so now our system is actually full of diesel. Preheat, here we go. And honestly, I don't want to get your hopes up, but I think it's going to start almost right away. Or not.
And despite his undeserved break, he started thinking things were going wrong again. But not at all. It just needed some time to wake up. It's not some 90-horse 2-liter HDI with multiplex wiring. You have to take your time. A few tries later.
Whoa. Guys, there was black smoke there. There was black smoke, preheat. Oh yeah, it smells like burnt diesel. I think this is the one. Oh no! We're going to build ourselves an OM606 with a nice turbo. We're going to make 700 horsepower.
Did the engine break? Did Anthony strike again? We don't know, but I think sometimes it's not a bad idea to take a look at where you stand. Look at everything you've done. Everyone you've met.
Hi Clayton, how are you?
As a voiceover, I'm often here to put you down. But this project is just over a year old. Look at the steps you've already taken. You're not going to give up, are you?
Oh, it works.
If you want, I've already done it and have 5 minutes to help you.
Believe me, this car is going to start.
And I really wanted to start the car for this video, but I'm starting to realize that I might not be able to do it. Oh no! Oh no! The hose just exploded. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like dying right now. I'll put the link to the hose I bought on Amazon that was listed as okay for oil. Apparently, it's not okay for oil. Luckily, the engine stalled since I panicked and didn't know what else to do. Now I think there's very little oil left in the engine. I'm going to clean myself up, get it together and tidy the workshop. What do you want me to say? The hose exploded from the oil flow. Oil is everywhere. Well, like I was saying earlier, it's a good thing I didn't use Motul because we would have wasted 5 liters of Motul, you know what I mean? And actually, it's this one here, right at the oil pump outlet. It burst right here. No, but this can't be happening, this can't be happening. Just look at this mess, damn it. I don't know what to say. It started up, but right now I just feel really helpless. There are 5 liters of oil on the ground. In the car, on the other cars, on the tools, on the van that's not even mine. Because I bought a crappy hose. It's okay, nothing serious. I'll clean it up. It's nothing serious. We'll start over with another hose. But right now, man, I'm really bummed out. And me, I'm a neat freak, man. Look at this mess. Well, you could say, yeah, but maybe you're just being stubborn for nothing, Anthony. Yeah, well, I cleaned up, I put in more oil, I put in a new hose. The neighbors next door gave me a water hose. But it's still better than that crap one, which wasn't even reinforced. At least this one is braided, so it's supposed to withstand at least some pressure. There you go. That's tight. That's tight. The diesel is primed. No, but cleaning the inside, I swear I just wanted to die. Preheat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10. I checked the oil level, it's good. Okay?
And after this intense cleaning session, he tried starting it several more times before it kept stalling. Probably a pump adjustment, but Anthony didn't have the brains to know that. But obviously, by insisting, it eventually worked.
The engine is running, you see. You can already see it turning. It's satisfying. Oh! Oh! Oh, damn! Yeah, just give it a bit more throttle. The pump and idle probably aren't set right. Okay. Yeah, damn, that's it, huh? The 505 OM606, the first 505 OM606 in the world has started. Now, I know you might think it's probably not a big deal. In the end, it's just a stock engine in a car that started. Yeah, but believe me, for me, what happened is just huge. Because a Mercedes engine starting in a Peugeot, for me, that's enough to make me really happy, let's be honest. So there's still a lot of work to do. In the last video, in the previous clip, it was running a bit weird. I turned off the camera, kind of panicked, but actually, it's completely normal. I talked a lot with Anshev Diesel, the one who prepared the RS 203 pump for me, and he told me that it was completely normal. It won't hold an idle, there's a bit of tinkering, a bit of adjustment to do, but that's totally normal. He was really happy to see it start. And by the way, I'll show you now the video I sent him, which made me very happy. So yeah, okay, it's an iPhone video, but don't worry, I've got some really cool stuff for you in the rest of the video. And as you can see, the car is now on the lift because we're going to remove the gearbox again. So we can put the clutch with the clutch mechanism on the flywheel, which makes me really happy. Next, we'll install the clutch release bearing. The rest looks straightforward. I'm removing the gearbox now. It'll be a hassle, so I'll see you when it's out. We're back after a few days. Timing was tricky and a lot happened. You'll see it soon in a video. It's a busy year with things moving in every direction. Let me show you what I've done. As you can see, the gearbox is obviously no longer on the car since it's here on the operating table, and actually I just wanted to take the gearbox apart to install the clutch release bearing. I greased my release bearing guide a bit here and cleaned it up. I'll show you how to install it, and then I'll explain a bit how it works to disengage the clutch, since on these gearboxes it's not a cable at all, it's hydraulic, which brings us to this view. The flywheel is attached to, well, here, the Mercedes engine, you know, the OM606. The clutch, the mechanism, all of that is already installed. I had already put it together last time with, of course, the ceramic clutch. So yes, actually some great things are happening. So today's goal is to put the release bearing on the gearbox, put the gearbox on the car, to have a working gearbox and especially a working clutch. There are quite a few steps. Let me explain. First, the release bearing. Take the release bearing, that's it. That's it in the sense that actually on the side of the gearbox here we have our clutch slave cylinder. You see, it's this little part here with a small bleeder because, well, it's hydraulic. Behind our pedal in the car there will be a master cylinder with a small reservoir that will simply send pressure to this thing when you press the pedal. And that pressure will allow the release bearing to press against the mechanism and thus disengage the clutch from the gearbox. The release bearing is installed, so now we just need to reattach the gearbox to the engine. The gearbox and clutch release bearing are back on the car, very important. I'm really happy and want to thank my friends for helping remove and reinstall the gearbox, since doing it alone is impossible. So now, I'm going to get out of the car and explain to you a little bit about how the hydraulic clutch works and what I need to do to make it work. Basically, to understand how a hydraulic clutch works, you first need to understand how a clutch works, and I imagine some of you don't know that. Basically, engine spinning, flywheel spinning. Against this flywheel there's the clutch disc. It's like a really big brake pad, you see. There's a lot of friction between the two. So basically, when they touch, both spin at exactly the same speed. That's what's connected to your gearbox, which then makes your gearbox spin and therefore your drive wheels. Up to this point, I think it's understandable. Except that this clutch disc can't always be stuck to the flywheel, because if it's always stuck to the flywheel or the gearbox, the wheels are always turning. If you brake, you stall, and we don't want that. We want to be able to separate this clutch disc from the flywheel or the gearbox, depending on how it works in the car in question. Quick tutorial step, search "How does a clutch work" on YouTube. You'll find some really good diagrams. Basically, what you need to understand is that when you press the pedal, something happens at the release bearing that makes the clutch disc stop sending power to the wheels. And in this case, it's a hydraulic release bearing, which means that between our clutch pedal and our hydraulic release bearing, there's a circuit with a master cylinder, exactly like a car's braking system. And to do this, I had to invest in a couple of small parts. I'll show you. Pedal box. Why pedal box? Because it's much easier than bothering to get Peugeot pedals that you'll connect to a hydraulic system, or getting a BMW clutch pedal while the brake pedal will be something else. This is a kit that costs $300 or $400. By the way, a big thanks to Drift Shop for playing along. They gave me a small professional discount so I could show you this product. So that's really cool. And in this case, it's delivered with 3 master cylinders, 1 for the clutch and 2 for the brakes. 1 for the front brakes, 1 for the rear brakes, and of course a gas pedal. We'll look at that last, since it's obviously the most fun to do, because that's the one that lets you... So before installing this pedal system, you have to put a seat in the car and so on. I'm really too lazy, way too lazy, but it has to be done. Once the pedal assembly is in place, basically it looks like this. And honestly, it's pretty good, it looks pretty cool. But when you step back, you realize that really the pedals are way too far back. I don't know, we must be about 30 centimeters below the steering wheel axis. And when you compare it with pretty much any other car, you realize that the pedals are much farther away. You see, if I put myself at the same angle, you can barely see the pedals. So that's due to several things. In particular, originally, well, the pedals are actually suspended from above. You see, they come from that hole there, so yeah, we'll never be able to put these pedals that far back, because originally they're suspended. Now, they can't be suspended anymore for obvious reasons. However, what we can do is place our pedals as far back as possible. And then we can modify the steering column to move it back a little bit and put our seat a little further back, just like in a real race car. Because even if all the BTCC cars and so on really look like stock cars, I heard the fuse. Well, inside it doesn't look like that at all. Like if you take a 406, if I show you a picture right now of a 406 BTCC, the steering wheel is not at all in the same place as in a regular 406, so it works. It's very good. So actually, the idea here to be able to place our pedals at least somewhat intelligently is to put the original seat back in the car, to position it a bit, to already get an idea of what it will look like. And above all, to be able to sit in the car to do the bleeding, etc. and press the pedals properly. The idea here is still to try to move it back a bit more than that. Here, under the slanted sheet metal, there's some flat sheet metal. I'm not sure what this lining does, but I'm going to cut it from here to the end. That will give us a bit more depth to move our pedals back, so in itself it's not so bad, right? Meanwhile, Phil came by to say hello. And actually I said to him, dude, how do electrical wires and fuse boxes work? I don't get it, because yeah, if we can disengage with the car, the idea is to be able to start it and move it. But I admit that starting the car with a screwdriver, quickly jumping into the car, moving it, and then once I get to the right spot, going back to my pump to cut off the supply, it's not easy. At the same time, I asked him if he could break that down for me.
Hello?
Thank you, that's very kind. I admit I don't understand anything, and even for you, who usually does, it's not clear.
Actually, it's just that it's from Amazon.
The diagram doesn't match anything, so you have to retest everything from A to Z. It's really crap. But anyway, it's moving forward, it's not too bad. Alright, I'm going to cut the floor pan, then I'll put the seat back. Alright, I'm checking back in again. I won't cut anything and will place the pedals wherever possible, moving the cockpit back. Why? Well actually, after looking at it, the frame rail comes in here. So the frame rail is welded just behind this sheet metal, so I'm not going to bother cutting it. It's fine, it's perfectly good like this. Here, I'll make a small hiding spot for candy behind the pedals, and that'll work fine. To find the maximum distance, I'll install the other master cylinders to get the largest measurement for my pedal assembly. But actually, something like this takes up a crazy amount of space. It's wow. Well, so now I'm pretty happy to tell you that we have pedals in the car. That's nice. It's temporary. For now, I've reinstalled the original seat pushed back as far from the pedals as possible, along with the original steering wheel. So, I had ordered a seat, but you have to make mounts and all that, and since all of this is probably a temporary setup, I really don't feel like doing too much. You see what I mean? Right now, the key thing is to make sure the car can move. That's the top priority. Next, I'll explain how we'll handle the clutch. Basically, what we need to do here is connect this clutch slave cylinder. You see here we have the hard line, which is kind of khaki colored, that goes into a flexible hose. This was lying around in my garage, so I made it myself. And actually this thing needs to go here, into this blue thingy. The yellow one there is just the fluid reservoir. So basically, our flexible hose will need to run somewhere, probably get attached with a zip tie, and then from this thing, our hard line will go all the way inside. So I'll probably run my hoses through this big hole here. That seems like the best option. And then here, we'll make a little bracket to hold our small reservoirs. We'll have one reservoir for the brakes and one for the clutch. So let's get started.
And this is where we get into the heart of the matter. In this case, copper. Anthony thought he was doing the right thing by buying a whole kit to make super well-made copper brake and clutch lines. When Anthony thinks he's doing the right thing, he overlooks things. He didn't realize his €60 and 14-cent franc kit lacked the right threads, so I'll spare you his multiple attempts to connect the fitting, which unfortunately ended in giving up. Giving up, marked by the traditional, I'm about to lose my
fuses. I'm going to quit school. Once again, it's the next day. Hi. So yes, sometimes, just like in the previous episode, you have to admit defeat. This kind of project, like I already said, it's not a 206 HDI where you just put in a turbo and everything else. It's parts from a 206 or a 607 or anyway, whatever. Everything fits together without too many questions. That's absolutely not the case here. I've been telling myself for weeks, I'll do the clutch system like this. I bought some fittings, it'll be perfect. And actually, it's only when you show up with the stuff you bought, when you put everything together, that you realize it doesn't fit. And I admit all of this, sometimes, honestly, it's pretty tough. It's a really complex project. It's a project. You saw it in the video. I wasn't really in the best shape or feeling like myself for several reasons, especially here. It's 35 degrees and honestly, it's getting on my nerves. Maybe that's another issue. Anyway, we could discuss this for hours. Yeah, a project like this, it's expensive, it takes time, and it's disappointing. I was really disappointed about millions of things with this car. Because everything takes more time than I would have imagined. Everything costs more money than I would have imagined, and that's a real problem. Money on YouTube, at least for me, is a real problem. Because even if I have sponsors that bring in enough money for me to live and fund my projects, well, the problem is that my projects are getting more and more expensive. But that's my fault, you know? I'm the one who says, well, great, I have more money than before, I can do more expensive projects. But the problem is, if, let's say, I earn twice as much from a sponsor, I'll put twice as much into the cars. And it's like, I'm not making any more money at the end of the month. And since I'm doing more and more complicated and advanced projects, I'm pointing here because you get it, there's the pink RS3 here. Well, these are projects that take more and more time. And so I can't afford to make 2 or 3 videos a month anymore. And when I have projects, when I have plans in my head and they don't work out, it really pisses me off. Not just because I know the video won't be as good as I expected or as complete as I wanted, but also because, well, it means I make less money at the end of the month. And having less money for projects means things move slower, and it also means that for my personal life I have less money and so on. I'm not complaining, I'm just stating truths, facts, things that are there, things I see every month. And in this case, when things don't go as planned with the 505, it pisses me off and it affects my mood. That's why I kind of took refuge in the RS3 and why the RS3 has progressed so quickly lately, because here I was completely overwhelmed. And speaking of things that overwhelm me, since we're not going to talk about the clutch anymore in this video because it's not possible with what I have on hand, we're going to talk about the wiring harness. So yes, earlier in the video I mentioned it to you, in the car there won't really be a wiring harness since there won't be any ECU. However, what there still is in the car is a battery, some relays, fuses and a few wires. Because even if there's no actual engine management, since everything is mechanical, well, you still need to be able to operate certain controls using electrical controls. You get it? I don't know how to do that. So yes, I could have spent time reading forums, reading books and understanding a lot of things, but on my own I would have wasted a lot of time. I'm still on good terms with Phil, who worked with me on the videos, but due to financial reasons, we couldn't keep working together like before, so it had to stop. Anyway, he came to give me a hand, and luckily, because otherwise I was lost. Here, we have a piece of wiring. So yeah, it's a mess for sure. Fuse box, wires, a battery. The car is grounded with positive here and to the ignition switch. Go ahead, turn the key. The ignition relay.
Okay, so nothing is connected basically, right?
Yeah, no, nothing works, but it's okay. Preheat. That's the starter, but it's not wired yet. At least I have the idea, it's really cool. So actually, seen like this, it looks completely crappy, rotten, lame, useless, horrible. But I admit you're wrong. You're wrong because these little bits of wire all piled up on top of each other allow you to control, as you just saw, the ignition, the preheating, and very soon, once I've run the last few wires, the starter control. That means that even if we won't be able to drive the car in this video, we can do something just as cool, which is start the car with the ignition key. Basically, I bought this fuse box online, which actually had a defect. Some wires were connected incorrectly, but anyway, that's not the point. It's a cheap Chinese thing that will do the job just fine. To keep it simple, this thing is connected to the battery, so we have a positive and a negative. The battery is also, as always, connected to the chassis as well as to the gearbox, so to the engine. And on these relays and these fuses, we have ignition power. You see, I was able to keep the ignition switch with its original connector. So right now, this is temporary wiring, you know? I'm sure you get it, but it does the job for now. And for the glow plug system here, we put a preheating relay, which is then connected here with all these multicolored wires to all the glow plugs, and on the other side to a control connected to the positive, connected to the ignition switch, you see? So when you turn the ignition on, listen closely, there's a relay that clicks here for ignition power. So that's what's going to give us power, for example, to the gauge, the cigarette lighter, some of the lights here if we need them, I don't know, oil pressure gauge, boost pressure, water temperature, etc, etc. In short, only things that will be powered when we turn on the car's ignition. For now, there's nothing. And then, when I turn it to the second position, the glow plug relay here turns on. We wait 7 seconds, I think. It just turned off. The technical sheet says 7 seconds, but sometimes it preheats for 10 or 12 seconds. I'm not sure why. This time, it was a bit longer than usual. But anyway, now my glow plug system now works off the ignition key. And that's really cool. Now, well, we just need to connect our starter trigger to a 12-volt power source and the other wire. I need to think about it. So basically, so you understand, here on my ignition switch I have 2 wires left, this blue one and this beige one. I'm going to put each probe of my multimeter on one of them. I've set it to beep mode, which means that in beep mode, when the 2 probes of the multimeter touch each other, the multimeter beeps. So now I have 1 probe on each wire, and now I'm going to turn the starter position. Do you hear that? It's beeping. Which means that I'll need to run 12-volt power to one of the 2 wires and take the other wire to the starter excitation. Between the 2, I need to put a fuse, and I'll check online to see what fuse rating I need, and that means it's like a switch at the ignition switch. So, as soon as I turn the ignition switch, the switch closes, the circuit closes, and 12-volt power can go to my starter trigger.
Anthony will play the professional auto electrician for a few dozen minutes, and he'll do everything except wire the starter. He'll make mistakes, search, and make more mistakes, and probably wire the wrong wire to the wrong wire. Since he didn't understand anything about the wires anymore, he called Phil back.
The return of Phil, because I don't understand anything. He does. I don't get it. It's not working like yesterday. I think I burned something.
It's going to be fine.
It'll be fine. We'll do it differently, though I might have burned something with my starter.
I just need to understand what happened and...
Yeah, the why and the how. Yeah, but that's the whole problem actually. I don't have the why or the how. Okay, I'll explain it to you when it works. There's nothing complicated, but right now, my brain just isn't braining anymore. Well, sometime later, I think I burned out the ignition switch.
A lead.
A lead. A contact in the ignition switch. The starter contact on one of the wires. So what we decided to do is, we don't really have an ignition anymore. We have the preheating at the same time as the ignition. We put the ignition and preheating wires on the same lead on the ignition switch, which freed up a wire for the starter.
The starter lead still worked, but we couldn't have the ignition on at the same time anymore?
Well, I still didn't get it. The important thing is that it's supposed to work. Well, let's do the test then. So, do I just need to put this, or do I need to put this too?
Well, here, you put everything, because otherwise we won't have a starter if you don't put everything.
Oh yeah, there you go. Positive, negative, everything's there. Okay, let me see.
If we listen here, this relay should turn on with that one.
Ignition plus preheat.
And then we have to run the starter. Yeah, the relay has started.
Yeah. Oh, everything works. Well, that's a good thing. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, now that we can start the engine from inside the cabin with the key, at least hypothetically, we'll check that in a bit. Well, now we'll have to work on stopping the engine from inside the cabin. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, even though I've said it 29 times, this engine is managed 100% mechanically. And it's a diesel that runs by drawing in diesel fuel. There's no electric pump, nothing. So as long as the engine is running, it'll keep running. To stop it, you have to do it at the pump. You know, I've already told you this several times in the video. Your diesel is drawn in here by the lift pump and it makes your thing run. To stop the engine, you have to press this lever here, and this lever's purpose is to completely cut off the diesel supply to the pump and therefore stop the engine. Except that getting out of the car and pressing this lever every time you want to turn off the engine doesn't work. So the idea is that above our pump we have this thing here. This thing here, what is it? It's a vacuum inlet. I'll show you how it works, you'll understand very quickly. This is a syringe, and a syringe, you know that when you pull on your syringe, it sucks in air, so technically it creates a vacuum. You see, if I put my finger here, it creates a vacuum in English. So here, on our pump, if I do this and pull on my syringe, technically it creates a vacuum. I think with this little demonstration you already understand that vacuum in this thing means the engine stops. Now bringing vacuum into this thing isn't very complicated. Because actually on these engines, as you'd expect on most diesel engines, you have a vacuum pump which is right here and it's driven by the timing chain. That means that here at the end of this little thing you have vacuum being created. So basically you run a hose from this thing to that gadget and your engine shuts off. The problem is, we want to be able to drive the car. If we don't have diesel coming in as soon as we turn the key, it doesn't work, there's no point. So with Mercedes, originally there's a kind of solenoid that actually regulates the vacuum that goes into our diesel pump. What people often do is use that thing. That thing is already hard to find and it costs about 30 or 50 euros, I can't remember. So I'm being nice and giving you the reference if you want to make the same swap on a 605 or 606. Basically, you'll connect this to your vacuum pump. You'll always have vacuum being created here, and anyway, you'll have a vacuum reservoir in your vacuum pump. And on another nipple, you put it here. This thing, you connect it to a plus 12. The idea is when you turn off your engine, there's no more plus 12 creating a vacuum and shutting off the pump, so I need to connect this. I'm doing it because there are just two hoses and two wires, one positive, one negative. I'll show you the installation later. I'm starting to get tired.
A few inches later.
Hey, I'm the one who usually does that. Blubble blubble, I'm drowning.
Well, look, it's not going so badly. I found a little spot for my little stop solenoid. I'm very happy. I made my little terminal here with some heat shrink tubing and everything. It looks neat. So, I'll have to run this to the ignition relay since this thing will cut off when the ignition is turned off and will start up again when the ignition is turned back on. That's it. It's very good. I think it's really cool. Second thing, to go from this 5mm diameter to this 10mm diameter, it was a bit complicated. So your humble servant 3D printed this thing here. It's a small polycarbonate adapter from 5mm to 10mm. I'm really happy. The advantage of polycarbonate is that it can even be permanent because it can withstand almost 200 degrees. So before it reaches 200 degrees, there will already be a little problem. And so here's what the final setup looks like. Well, provisional. There you go, provisional. Slurp, slurp, vacuum pump, hop, tack, tack. Pump, plus minus, provisional on contact. Here, plus contact minus battery. Turn the ignition fill, and I want to see if I can hear this little thing click. Yeah, it goes click click. So, it's supposed to work. If you don't mind, instead of that thing, I'm going to put my little syringe to simulate the vacuum pump, and that way, we can see the pump in action. Here you see the pump. I'm creating a vacuum, but nothing is happening.
Normally when I do this.
Perfect. Turn the ignition back on. I'm very happy. So now let me recap. From the cockpit, you can turn on the ignition, preheat the 6 glow plugs, operate the starter, and by turning off the ignition, shut down the engine. It's time to start from the cockpit. As I just told you, normally. That's good. I'm moved. I'm happy because sure, I've already started the engine with just a screwdriver. Let's add some diesel. That's it. There's diesel in the line everywhere. I've already started it with just a screwdriver. Now starting the Peugeot with the Peugeot key that runs a Mercedes engine, that's a whole other level. Okay, in the video I won't be able to take you for a little drive with a clutch, a brake pedal and a gas pedal, but if I can already give you this, it's wonderful. I'm getting into my Peugeot. Everything's connected. We'll preheat 2 or 3 times since it's only about 30 degrees in the workshop. Yeah, it's supposed to turn off automatically, but it takes a while. It's good. Okay. I turn the key, it turns off. Oh, that's exceptional. It's exceptional though. Oh, look. We're here. Oh! It sounds like a tractor. I'm shaking, it's impressive. So, what happened next? We can't stop there. I went to see Ulis from Usemeka 26 and I told him, dude, I need a turbocharger on my OM 606 on my mechanical pump. I went there with an idea I got from eBay about a Delorto carburetor from who knows, because you see actually there's a kind of little arm there, some little levers with a small ball joint. Also you see you have to pull towards the front of the engine while my pedal is over here, so it's not very practical or intuitive, so that's the idea. Replace the small 6mm ball joint that's on the car with this 8mm ball joint, and on this ball joint we attach this system, a small connecting rod that fits into the ball joint here. We made this little cable clamp with Ulis, so you see it's really well put together, honestly. It screws in there. Drill and tap in M6, and we have 2 small M4 screws that clamp the throttle cable, so the little throttle blips I did on the pump, technically, soon I'll be able to do them with my foot. So, installing a throttle cable is a pain, but it'll work out. Thanks to the guys at Sud-Est Motos in Bourg-les-Valence, we have these throttle cables. We have several models. And we also have somewhere a Derby cable. And we also have a throttle pedal. So we'll have to drill here to fit the end of the cable in. There you go. I think it's cool if we wrap it up on that note. Progress. 1 hour. But it's classy. Look how well they worked. Look at that. That's what you call custom made. So it gets messy here, but that's normal since later, at this spot on the apron, we'll install all the copper hose and cable guides. Everything will be neatly custom made. So a cable with an adjuster here to make it perfect. I can also give you a spoiler about it, though I haven't done that yet. Ah, the pedal might be a little too tight. But anyway, you get the idea. So, we'll need to make a nice little cable guide and everything, you know, really clean. Yeah, wow. Now, normally, we're reaching the end of filming the video about the car that goes vroom vroom. Yeah, I'm tired, I can't take it anymore. Look, well, the first thing you see, honestly, isn't supposed to make you happy. Anyway, when you press the pedal, it stays where it is because the injection pump's return spring is too weak. We need to install a much stiffer spring. So, in the meantime, well, we put a tensioner that goes from here to there, and here a little geranium, and for now it seems to do the job, huh? Look at this beauty here. This magnificent setup, it's exceptional. The pedal travel isn't right, there are a lot of things that aren't right, but that means that technically I should be able to get in the vehicle, turn the key, preheat, start, accelerate without leaving the cabin, and shut off the engine. Let me give you a little demo. Nobody's gonna say no to that. Here we go. It's kind of exceptional, honestly. Actually, I'm realizing that every time we reach a new milestone, it's a world first. When it has brakes, it'll be the first time a 505 has Nissan S13 brakes. So ignition, preheat, start. It's so intense. Seriously, the pump just hits the car hard. I get why they told me to key the crankshaft before starting because you can't really tell on camera, I think. It's so intense. Oh, the noise it makes. Also, we don't have a turbo, so the sound is insane. The turbo muffles a lot, and we don't have an intake either. So right now you can really hear the valves opening. The sound just can't get any crazier than this. But every time, you know, it just... Yeah. No, well, guys, honestly, this time we can't say it was an easy shoot. I think it was actually a really tough shoot, let's be honest. Morally and all that, it really wasn't great. Actually, this car here, it's kind of 50-50. It's a project that makes me want to go further. It's a project that motivates me. But at the same time, when things don't go right, it's a project that makes me want to burn everything down and that demotivates me. And actually, it's really complicated to deal with that, especially like I explained earlier. Well, it's this thing and that thing and all of this that brings me my salary. And my salary is what allows me to do these things. It's kind of a vicious circle, and that's actually what makes things complicated. So yeah, I'm really happy and actually pretty moved. So now, let's say the logical next step of the project is going to be starting the car. That's okay, move the car. And if we can move it a bit aggressively just to see if all the work I've done back there holds up, that's a good thing. If the next video takes a while, it's because you'll see the car driving when it releases. I'm really excited for it. Anyway, as usual, a huge thank you for following these adventures because I do it for my own enjoyment, but I also do it to share it with you. And I realize that more and more of you are following the adventure of this wonderful Peugeot 505, and that really makes me very, very happy. If you want to see a bit of the behind the scenes of all this, I invite you to follow me on my Instagram anthony.pdlv, where I share a lot of nonsense in my stories. And you see, you can even hear it in my voice, in my eyes. I think you noticed I'm tired. I'm going to get some rest. I think you won't hear from me for 3 days. I'm going to sleep and order some parts, especially hydraulic fittings for the 505, but I'm very happy. With that, my friends, I'll see you very soon for a new video that you're going to like. Ultrace is coming up very soon, so I'll see you in Poland in a few weeks. See you very soon. Big hugs, my friends.
It's been a year since we last worked together.
6 months?
Yeah, well, it's been 6 months since we last worked together, but I've been coming here every day for 6 months.
Yes. To see the progress of this crap here.
Yeah, the progress, because there are a lot of things I haven't done. And just 2 or 3 days ago, it was a mess, wiring and all that. It makes me really happy that you tell me. I kind of need you.
Well, yeah, me too. It makes me happy.
And I'm really happy to be here for the real first start, because it's something that was born in both our dumb heads over there on the couch.
We were there.
And so that's why it's a bit emotional. It's a moving moment.
Emotivating.
Emotivating? Yeah, that's kind of it, huh? Because, you see, I spent 2 days working on the wiring. Like, I really want it to work because it means a lot to me.
Well, honestly?
So I'm really happy.
Honestly, thank you so much. Thank you for watching this crap. It really makes me happy. Yeah.